Why do you assume only other races like fried chicken? I love fried chicken. It should be a white person stereotype because of me.
I agree wholeheartedly with this. I love fried chicken too. I would reason that Colonel Sanders is proof enough that this stereotype should apply to us. However, I believe that the idea of it being a black stereotype may have something to do with the South. Fried chicken is technically a southern dish, an area where most of the black stereotypes come from. Watermelon, grapes, spicy food, these things were once upon a time heavily common and cheap foods down there, and thus were commonly eaten by the financially poor blacks.
Why do we make it so we only have pumpkin in the fall? I want pumpkin all the time.
Why?
'Tis the season to eat that shit. That's just how it works. It's a marketing ploy. If it bothers you that much, buy a shit ton of pumpkin spice and make pumpkin spice whatever you want year-round yourself. Problem solved.
Can't most white people dance?
We can, especially if we care enough to learn. We made the waltz, the tango, the reel, the square, the kazachok, or whatever that one's called, the jig, the can-can, the polka, and so on. We can dance just fine. Stop believing the bigoted bullshit.
Seriously, like, is it genetic or something?
If that were the case, then explain this.
They're like stiff hips or like 2 left feet.
Is this your discreet way of saying that you're too lazy to learn how to dance?
I can dance.
No one cares.
Why do you get so annoyed when other people don't speak English?
English is hard. We have silent Ks.
Because I can't speak their language, and language barriers suck. Also, this is the United States of America. This is an English-speaking country. Just like how they speak Portuguese in Brazil, Spanish in Mexico, and French in Haiti.
We get so excited to brag on Instagram that we went to this really cool, authentic cultural festival, even though we went with all of our white friends. Why?
That sounds more like a personal experience, so maybe you should be the one to answer it, rather than casting it on every white person. But it's probably because it was a fun event that you enjoyed and got diversity points for. I don't do Instagram, and when I tell people about such an event, it's either because it was exceptionally awesome, or would have been something that the person I'm informing would have been interested in.
Why do white people spray tan until they turn orange?
Your guess is as good as mine. I don't like the tan look. I'm proud of my white skin, and no, I'm not meaning that in the racist white power sort of way. Let the tan people be tan, let the white people be white.
Can't you just be comfortable in your own body?
I am. So much so that I walk around in public wearing my kilt. And yes, I go traditional. And I agree about the spray tan shit. I don't want to look orange. Unless I'm planning on cosplaying as President Donald J. Trump or Mamoru Kusanagi from Blue Seed. Though if I do either of those ideas, I'll more than likely go with some sort of makeup.
I'm just saying, it's not tan, it's orange.
You know, I'm starting to think that you guys are making these videos because your only source of entertainment is MTV programming. God damn it, I hate it when they do this type of a category. Oh well, let's see what bullshit they come up with this time.
Why do you think that since you've seen 5 seasons of The Wire, you're a cultural expert? What?
I don't even know what The Wire is. I'm guessing it's a TV show of some sort, since you said that it has 5 seasons. As I've responded to some of y'all's previous videos, I'm not a cultural expert when it comes to cultures I'm interested in, or even an expert of my own. I'm also not a self-righteous college student, or uptight SJW'd, or entitled millennial.
Why do you believe everything you see on TV when it comes to other races?
Why?
That is one big pile of shit.
Why are you stupid enough to believe that I do? Unlike you children, I can differentiate between fact and fiction. I am also aware that some stereotypes have a degree of truth with some people that said stereotypes reflect, and that it's not applicable to all. I find it somewhat sad that everyone at BuzzFeed tends to believe that this isn't the case.
Why do we get upset when a TV show becomes diverse, even though diverse usually just means 2 to 3 people of color?
Why?
Oh, you guys are so fucking clueless. Okay, I don't care about diversity, especially that messed up, inaccurate definition, okay? Stop believing what your college professor told you, okay? Stop it.
Do you assume movies with white stars are automatically more relatable than movies with people of color?
People of color have had to relate to white characters for all of cinematic history.
What?
You serious?
The only degree of truth to this nonsense is that there are some quote-unquote black movies that are clearly marketed towards a different audience than what I fall under. I'm not a black man who wants to hear rap music while a skinny Afro dork with grills in his mouth calls every white man he sees a cracker while trying to get into the pants of the hottest white woman there and almost always succeeding. Also, these are movies. We aren't supposed to relate to them, we are supposed to be entertained by them. This is why we have options in theaters. You may want to see the new Xander Cage movie, whereas I don't. It's the same thing.
Why is Viola Davis the first black woman to win an Emmy for Best Actress?
Who cares? She probably got it just because she's black, and it was done just to make social justice wankers like you shut up for 5 seconds. Who the fuck cares? These Hollywood awards are meaningless to me, and they should be to anyone else who cares about the real world. Fuck Hollywood. It's all fake shit anyway.
Why aren't we complaining that the Oscars and other award shows are like all white?
It's just like white people congratulating other white people on being white.
Everybody should be represented.
Wait, isn't that what you're doing right now? Pretending that something that doesn't matter is somehow vital enough to cry about? Okay then, it's because these award shows are dumb and irrelevant. If they were to completely go away, it would have no impact on all of us, except maybe for the fake journalists that are trying to make us care and the trophy companies that make the statues. The year in which you're referring to saw the best going against the best. Like it or not, sometimes that means a particular demographic is left out. The only reason you're pointing this out is for more diversity points, because an overrated black actor threw a bitch fit over not getting nominated for a bad movie that he did a terrible job on. The only people who should be represented are the ones that deserve to be considered to win the award, and that particular year, Will Smith was not one of them. Get over it.
Why don't we know the difference between appropriation and appreciation?
Why can't
Because you're idiots who work for BuzzFeed. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I forgot that this was directed towards me because I'm white. Here's the simple difference. Appreciation is when a white person is enjoying another culture or is seeking to learn about the world around them, while appropriation is when someone irrelevant power trips over a white person who's just minding their own business. By the way, if you saw my response to the Asian questions video, I mentioned this Jessica Simpson show. It's called The Price of Beauty. There you go.
we figure out how to make our own pop culture?
You are not a well person.
We do, you fucking self-loathing racist moron. Have you not been paying attention to the bitching that was just done in your own video? By you as well. You guys seem to think that everything Hollywood does is a white club producing white entertainment. That sounds like pop culture to me. What about country music? Or skateboarding? Are y'all that fucking stupid? Or just that desperate to look non-bigoted for your political masters?
Our own slang.
Fuck off. There, I just demonstrated our own slang. Here's another example. Tits!
Our own cool clothes, instead of stealing other people's cool clothes and then saying that they are our cool clothes.
Kilts are a white person's clothes. They are cool, and I dare you to name some stupid non-white clothes that are cooler. That being said, yes, there are some cool clothes from other cultures, but there's nothing wrong with us wearing them from time to time, especially in the right situation. Heck, I've had friends tell me that when they went to Japan, the citizens there were really wanting to see my friends in kimonos. They believe in sharing. Why don't you?
Why are white people obsessed with Wes Anderson?
I don't think I've ever even heard of Wes Anderson, and if I have, I must have cared so much that I've forgotten who he is. It would also appear that I have once again proven your misguided anti-white bigotry to be based in lies.
Why would you ever say thug life? It's a bad life.
The only whites who ever say that are the ones stupid enough to want to emulate black gang culture. I agree that it's a bad life, which is one of the reasons why I don't say it.
What do you have against seasoning and spiciness?
But just because you like your food a certain way, there is no reason to tell these ponies that they need to do the same.
I'm starting to think that there's something seriously disturbed with you people. Do I need to call a doctor for you? I fucking love seasoning and spices, and I genuinely believe the same thing is true for the others out there that enjoy exploring other cultures through their foods.
No pony has the right to tell these ponies what to think.
Didn't Christopher Columbus discover America looking for spices?
That was one of the reasons, as well as to prove a scientific theory that he and a few others in Europe had at the time. What does that have to do with the occasional white person today not caring for spicy food? Oh, that's right. Not in the fucking slightest. By the way, he didn't discover America as you have incorrectly worded it. He visited various Caribbean islands and parts of Latin America, which led various European nations to explore westward and establish numerous colonies. Fuck, you're stupid.
Their casseroles are thing.
100 internet nerd points for anyone who can correctly name the episode that this double facepalm happens. Now for you, Captain Doofus. It's because they were invented in America by a Canadian immigrant and became very popular in the 1950s and 60s thanks to more convenient kitchenware and appliances being made available. They are also delicious and have a variety of ways to make them, usually for cheap.
Why do you try to avoid confrontation at all costs?
Why do you try to create problems at all costs? Any sane, rational person should want to avoid negative human interactions whenever possible and do what they can to work their way through confrontations whenever they are unavoidable. The fact that you're questioning this illustrates the typical millennial problem-causing mentality that excuses Black Lives Matter riots.
Why is it crazy that I'm white and I have a big butt?
Oh my God! The steak patty! The Casey delivered what he promised!
It's not. It just happens. For fuck's sake, stop pretending that this shit is important.
Why do you make such a big deal when somebody doesn't want to hike?
I don't. That's a question to ask a hiker, not a white person. Not all hikers are whites, and not all whites are hikers. I'm starting to think that y'all work for BuzzFeed because y'all got a negative score on your SATs, and in your case, are too lazy to work off your burger belly.
Why do you keep talking about reverse racism?
For the ones that use that phrase, it's a way to express the ridiculous idea that the way to combat racism is more racism. I'm not a big fan of the phrase, but the meaning behind it is unfortunately valid.
That is not a thing.
No, but racism is. And using racism to combat racism is just as evil. It's like fighting Satan by sacrificing a child.
We are the people in power.
Well, considering that our current Commander-in-Chief is black and our soon-to-be Commander-in-Chief is orange, I'm calling bullshit on that. You and I as individuals have no fucking power.
Racism is about oppression.
No, it's not. Racism has nothing to do with power or oppression. At all. Look, y'all are SJWs, right? Don't you love using the dictionary definition for feminism? Why not here? There isn't a legitimate dictionary in the world that claims fictitious power is a component of racism.
Sorry, white people have not been oppressed.
Speak up, cuck. Yes, they have. If you knew the true history of racism and American slavery, you would know how wrong you are. This subject is starting to piss me off. Let's move on to the next dumb question.
Why are you too afraid to speak up when someone says something racist?
What the fuck makes you think that it's out of fear? Maybe I just don't care. Unlike you people, I don't believe in policing the words of strangers. Maybe I just didn't catch it. I don't go on a hunting spree just to shame my fellow whitey.
Why do we think that having one friend of color means that nothing we say or do could possibly ever be racist?
My guess is that you're gullible idiots. Of course we can say and do something that is racist, but that's not the same thing as being racist. I've actually learned about some racial stereotypes by accident. I didn't realize that what I said counted as being a racial expression. How the fuck was I supposed to know that black people love spicy food? I swear, aside from the preferences in fruit, every food-based black stereotype applies to me too.
Why does being half white automatically make my commentary on white culture only half true? I am just as much white as I am Mexican.
I don't even know what to say to that. Can you help me out?
Fire!
I guess that's as good of a response as I could come up with.
Why do you believe that Black Lives Matter means that your life doesn't matter.
That's not exactly how I see it, but it has to do with the violent actions that Black Lives Matter has done in the name of their message. They have beaten up and killed white folks, all for the sake of the movement.
Every life matters.
Exactly, which is why I say all lives matter.
It's just that one has a harder time living.
That is one big pile of shit.
We all know that not every black person has it harder than every white person. We also know that many of the problems in the black communities are caused by other blacks having a thug life mentality. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. There's no way that that Jonathan Butler kid has it worse than me.
Why do you get offended when you see a table full of black people, but not when you see a lunchroom full of white people?
What?
This has got to be some sort of joke, right? Y'all don't honestly think that something this dumb would offend anyone white, right? Well, except maybe for the Klan. Or Westboro. Wait, is that it? Do you think that all white people who aren't in New York City or Hollywood must be a Klansman? Man, what a sad, scary world you must live in.
Why do you always ask to have a white people club?
You already do. It's the student union. It's primarily white. They have a black student union because you don't represent them well.
Whoa, his brain fell out.
Yeah, this is your brain. This is your brain on the street. Any questions? Yeah.
A reference to schools? Really? Is that because y'all have the average intelligence of a middle schooler? The student union represents everyone. Just because there are those that wish to segregate themselves based on their race, it doesn't mean that they aren't part of the student union. They have a black student union because they are minorities who are seeking to strengthen their ties to schools and thus stay in school. The closest thing to white clubs I have ever heard about were ones that focus on particular European nations. And everyone, regardless of race, was allowed to join.
Why do you see the success of people of color as a threat to you?
I'm starting to think that they're just trying to come up with the most venomous thoughts that they can, just for the sake of making their video longer. I don't think there's anyone who thinks like that. Try again, Sunshine.
You know that a 2-minute video about whiteness isn't reverse racism, right? 2 minutes about whiteness, hundreds of years of systemic oppression, yeah, I think we can deal with this.
No, it is racism. And you're lying to people. Whites have gone through oppression for centuries too. That's why some of the first Englishmen came over here, as well as decades upon decades of immigrating Germans, Spaniards, Ukrainians, Scots, Danes, Frenchmen, Jews, Irishmen, Greeks, Finns, and many more. Also, the oppression you're speaking of began with blacks and Arabs selling blacks and Arabs and whites to rich lords and princes. Stop pretending that we did it all and that it's our fault. Even if white people did start it all, every one of those people are dead, and it makes no sense to shame us today for it.
Why are we upset about immigrants when we were the first immigrants? And we were white people running away from other white people. That kind of shows you how bad white people can be.
God, y'all are so fucking clueless.
Boy, they came out of nowhere.
First off, this isn't a white thing, but a right thing. We are sick of millions of people coming here illegally. If they went through the correct methods, we wouldn't care. Second, no, we weren't. We were natively born here, which does not make us immigrants. Some of our ancestors came here as settlers and eventually conquered this land. They weren't immigrants, and yes, there's a difference. But so what? Every race has this potential, every race has that history. Third, yes, some of the first settlers were fleeing the tyrannical powers that be at the time, which it's funny that you're only just now pointing this out, considering what the previous question was. There were also many that just wanted a new life, or to possibly be rich. Finally, yes, white people can be bad because we're people. Blacks can be bad, as illustrated by the original slave trade. Arabs can be bad, as illustrated by the Syrian refugee situation. Hispanics can be bad, as illustrated by Fidel, Raul, and Che. Asians can be bad, as illustrated by the Taiping Rebellion. The way you have ended this video would suggest that you hate yourself, and that you expect me to hate myself as well. Guess what? You have failed. Now go back to your mother's basement.
Get up at the police car. Police